Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two and a Half Salesmen. I'm your host Mario, together with my evergreen, phenomenally looking host Julio. Julio, how are you, my man?
Feeling very good looking. What can I say?
The day by day. I'm guessing the lavender and goat milk is finally paying off.
Yeah, no, it's the Brian Johnson diet. I told you
It's the Brian
I'm doing
Johnson.
the Project Blueprint. So
There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest, Gavin, formerly from Connect and Sell. And Gavin, welcome to the podcast.
Gents, it's a pleasure and an honor. I'm excited to see where this goes, for sure.
Yes, we are.
You're excited now. Let's see later.
Let's see later. This is, as we told you before we hit record, this is completely raw and unfiltered. So
yeah,
let's see where this takes. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is, I would say, a very important one in a field of, well, sales in general. But since we talk B2B sales, let's kind of stick there. And it's about power of referrals. So let's dive head first. Why do salespeople do not ask for referrals? Gavin, the floor is yours.
Well, it's simple. Right. It's simple. Yeah. Because here's the thing. I think maybe in Serbia and in Italy, you all have financial advisors. And this is the use case I always give. Okay. So you talk to a financial advisor, and whether or not you do business with them, they hand you the sheet, and the sheet has name, phone number, email on it. Mm-hmm. And it's an awkward moment, and they just hand it over, and they're like, put all your friends and family on this. And the next thing you know, a week later, Mario, you put Julio's name on there, and this financial wizard starts calling Julio every damn day, sending him emails and Julio talks to him and he goes, hey, look, Mario signed up for my service and this is really great. I'm going to help him build a small fortune and all this great stuff. And you're like, look, I'm good. My brother-in-law does my finances. It'd be very awkward at holidays. And now the financial advisor becomes a professional sales mosquito and will not leave you alone.
We got that here in Serbia, but the vacuum cleaner, door-to-door vacuum cleaners, they will just come in. They would take, if you put in 10 names and we do all 10 showings
get it for free.
House, you get some crap for free. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we all know he will be in my house. He'll spend like 3 hours there. He'll try to push something and I fucking don't want to buy. So
I'm surprised you let them 3 hours in the house. I would have kicked them out right away.
It's just the mindset.
It's because they drop dirt on your floor and Skittles and glitter bombs and you can't just leave that there. They got to show you. So that's kind of where this comes from. We've all had that experience, of being put on a list. Mm-hmm. And sometimes your friend does it to you on purpose and they just laugh. They're like, that guy called you, great. And so
I should do this. That's a great idea.
I never thought about it like this.
Internally, it's such a turnoff, right?
Is. Just because you get a very weird feeling when say, hey, I'm selling this crappy vacuum cleaner, but I got your phone number from, and they're like, I even didn't talk to this person for 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, do it to your worst enemy, right? The bully from school. Sick everyone on them. So it comes from that internally, right? It's kind of the same principle as cold calling. Where's the fear come from cold calling? Well, from a young age, I think culturally, everyone is told by mom and dad not to talk to strangers. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. From a young age, you're told don't talk to strangers. And people think asking referrals is smarmy, right? They just don't like it. It doesn't sit well with them. But here's the thing. If you set it up properly, you should be able, and I'll take you through the math of this, but you should be able to get 8 referrals out of every person you sit down with. Right? Now, it goes kind of like this. The typical situation is if someone actually remembers and has the guts to say it, you know, at some point in time, they say, Mario, I'm going to ask you for referrals. And you get to that referral point and you say, who do you know? And they go, I don't know. And that's not true, right? They know lots of people. Okay. So the reality is you have to set it up properly. Right. So if we go through,
let me we'll just interrupt you from time to time. It's just
do it. Hard for me to keep to 90 seconds.
Yeah. Julio, any like opening remarks, any comments so far?
To be honest, I'm actually curious because I'm one of those people that doesn't give a fuck. And I always ask for referrals. I had some people that were like, nah, I'm not interested. It's like, well, would you happen to someone that's not as lucky as yourself to have this problem and maybe does require some help? And usually what I get is, oh, that's a good question. You know, at least
look, even now, in your example, in this tone, there is like should I ask or should I not ask? Like, is there someone? I don't know if you ask it like this in real life, or you
ask it quite cheeky. I was like, I mean, you know, like, is there someone that perhaps is not as lucky as you are? That's usually my tonality. It's like I'm almost making a joke, making them feel bad they don't have the problem, right? That's my idea.
Well, number one, we don't set things up properly. So there's a very specific way to do this. Second, I love that you joke around with it. And that's when you should throw in, like, I don't know, what about your brother-in-law? Or maybe the school bully? Like,
I like
are
that.
They doing it? Are they in the same world?
Are they in AI complex enterprise grade tech?
I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes. 1 second. I love that. I love that.
So the fun thing is, though, we don't set it up properly, right? So you've got to have the setup when you're sitting down with someone and hopefully setting an agenda of how the conversation could go. You always should say, listen, I'm a sales professional. A lot of my business comes from referrals from people just like you. I got to tell you, it's hard for me to ask. At the end of today, our conversation, regardless of how this goes, will you remind me to ask you for referrals?
Nice.
You show a little vulnerability. Okay.
Nice.
And you tell them you're uncomfortable.
Nice.
Okay. So now we come to the point, right? This is the argument that Julie and I are kind of maybe not constantly having on this podcast, but we do have it. That's the culture, right? The culture impact. So do prospects that are located, as we say, across the pond, so United States, are they used to this kind of talk? And what would happen if I would ask a German this, or an Italian, or someone from Spain?
Sorry. Just one thing, because I remember this when I started working for an English company, and I was running the Italian division. And in Italian, like in Serbian, we have formal, informal, like English used to have, right?
Yes.
And I was growing up in England, in London and Scotland. So I was like, you know what? We're going to skip this. Now you're going to talk to people. The first minute, you're just going to ask to switch to informal. And so my scheme for this is that I think we have a lot of this, culturally, this is not acceptable. I think we're only as daring as we let our own culture be. And that's why the Americans are so good at selling, because they generally don't give a fuck. I'll sell to your son. I'll say to your mother. I'll say to your grandmother, and she died 6 months ago. You know, so that's the kind of the logic.
But can she still sign? If she can sign, we're okay.
I think it comes, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but I'll tell you right now, if every meeting that you sat down in the past month, salespeople, I hope you're listening. If you knew you could have gotten 8 referrals from every one of those sit downs, what would your pipeline look like? Would you ever have to make another cold call again?
True.
Right? How about send another idiotic email? Right? No. You would actually, and then if you look at like the year, how many people you sat down meetings with, whether or not you won or lost, multiply that by 8. It should make you feel a little bit ill. And now you've got to be gutsy. Okay. So let me walk you through how you set this up the right way.
Yeah.
We've already talked about how you've got to set this up and you've got to show a little vulnerability, and maybe you're not vulnerable. But listen, sales is a Broadway play performed by a psychiatrist. Okay? It's just a role that we're playing. It's just a role. Okay? That is not me. That is David H. Sandler, who is like one of my dead mentors. Fair? Yeah. And so, we set this up. Yeah. We set this up properly. We tell them we're going to be vulnerable. We don't like asking for them, but we're sales professionals and we know that we can help other people. Now, they don't know anything really about what you do. Okay. And so you say anything at the end,
or anything about you
correct.
Right.
It's an upfront contract. It's a pure and simple.
100%.
Yeah.
So over the course of your discussion, they're going to learn about you, probably the companies that you work for, the problems that you solve. So that by the end where you get there, right, whether or not you agree to do business or not, they're going to have a pretty good substantial understanding of who you are and what your company does, if you've done a good job, right? Okay. So they say, oh, hey, Gavin, we got like 10 minutes left. What are we going to do? You set your next steps or whatever else. You agree not to do business. That's fine. And then you go, hey, I got to ask you about those referrals. And they go, well, I don't know anyone. So before you do that, you don't even open that up. You say, hey, I mentioned to you, we were going to have a conversation. I was a little vulnerable about it.
You would say I was a little vulnerable
no,
about it?
You just want to say, you
want to sound it. You want to sound it.
You want to say, all right.
You want to say, before we get off, can you take out a piece of paper? Or on Zoom, you can pull up the whiteboard. Fair. And you take that and you say, hey, draw a circle. And they draw a circle. And then you say, look, put an X on the outside of the circle. And what we've done, this is called a preoccupation breaker. Psychological term.
Write this down, people.
I'm writing it down.
What it does is it helps them shift their mindset to the appropriate task. Okay? Because if you just say, okay, I'm going to ask you about referrals right now, and the textbook answer is, I don't know anybody, right? But we've got them in a very specific task. We've got their mind in a different place. Because they've been thinking the whole meeting, you're going to ask them about referrals. Whole time. They probably didn't even listen to half of what you said. Right? And they're like, God, this guy's going to ask me about referrals. I don't know anybody. I don't want to let my personal professional integrity outline, but we've got them. They've drawn this circle and there's an X on the outside of the circle. Now it's story time. Mario, you're going to play with me. I'm going to say, hey, Mario, what I've had you done is drawn an inner circle and an outer circle. And when I think about referrals, I got to tell you, at one point I was flying home from Vegas. True story. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. There's a gentleman in front of me, another person in front. And then this other gentleman walks up and he has a very famous face tattoo. And we're all like, holy crap, that's Mike Tyson. Sure as shit, Mike Tyson flying to on my connector to Denver.
Wow.
He, of course, boards before me. And I'm like, I gotta like give this guy a handshake, you know? And so walking down, I'm not in first class. There's Mike. Throw out my hand. I shake the hand. And he looks kind of like through me, right? Now, here's what I want you to think about, Mario. Who have you met? Famous actor, politician, sports person that comes to mind?
All right, I have someone.
Okay. Who is it?
Some, let's say, famous NBA star.
Okay. Okay. And you shared a moment with them, right?
Yeah, a super brief one.
All right. So I want you to write their name on the X on the outer circle.
All right.
Now, if I gave you $1,000 right now, if you had their phone number,
Okay.
and you called them and said, hey, Mike Tyson, we met on that plane, you know, whenever that was, for me, it was like 4 months ago in April. You know, we shook hands, shared a moment. Can I ask you who you might know that might benefit from my company? It's not going to go well.
No.
Not going to go well. They probably won't remember you. So what I want you to do on the inner circle is I want you to write 4 X's. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So here's what I want you to think of, Mario. This is your inner circle, right? So these are people you know, you like, you trust. So the first person I need you to think about, now that you know what we do and how we help other people, is there a family member that possibly you know in a specific line of business that may be able to benefit from my company? Just a casual conversation. Who would that be?
I don't have anyone.
Typically, they'll tell you. They'll say,
They'll
"Oh,
tell
Mark."
you,
Yeah, because it's very, very specific. You're
But this is very, very sales. Like everyone is in sales.
it's a bit
I-
American. Like I think,
This is very American.
but
Yeah.
but I think you could deliver it differently.
You see,
like
cultural, Julio. Told you.
it makes me cringe, to be brutally honest.
Oh yeah, I was.
But look, if you told someone that never cold call to make a cold call, it's gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's weird. So I reserve the neutrality to be like, I think there would be ways to set this up that could work. But anyway, carry on.
Well, let's disarm you here. Fair?
Yeah, sure. I'm open.
Someone reads on LinkedIn from some person, upfront contracts never work. I see it all the time. Do you know why it doesn't work?
because
You sound like an idiot. Hi, I am so happy to be here. I appreciate you coming today. You know, like it's not rehearsed. This is why cold calls don't work any either. Because it's how you say it. It's your delivery, it's your tone, it's your inflection. So I'm giving you a base skeleton script. You have to make it work for you. But again, you're going to pull 8 referrals out of this. 8. If you do it right and you set it up, you have to use that preoccupation breaker. You have to take people to a different place. It's story time.
Yeah.
So, you know, you get the
have
personal.
You have to frame it like that. I think the key to this specific exercise, right, is to frame it. Oh, have you met a famous person or a star or anyone like Mega Giga? And everyone has met someone that they think is very famous. So if you do this, if you ask them for a referral, how would that go? Oh, like no fucking way. So then you kind of break their mental ice. Yeah, cool. All right.
They're in line.
I get what you're doing.
And you're taking them through a very nice framework.
Yes.
And again, they know you. You may or may not be doing business with them, but now you're working the magic, right? Yeah, you go personal. Who else in your personal world would maybe benefit from a call from me? And they give you, you know, so-and-so, and I went to college with this guy. Now, depending on your world where you work, you might say, you know, like maybe you sell like some sort of sales technology. What about a real estate agent? Have you bought a house recently? Who in your family sells real estate? Everyone's got someone, a cousin, a brother, an uncle, right? Who do you know that owns a business? Oh, well, this person owns a business. Could they, you know, benefit from having a conversation from me? Yeah, maybe. Now you've got to be strategic in your questioning, right? So you got your first 4. And then you say, okay, draw 4 more X's. And they draw 4 more X's.
Jesus Christ, really though? Wow.
Jesus,
okay.
man.
I don't know. And now I'm starting to become skeptical.
I will fucking have to try this on the very next call I have, because I don't believe it.
If you don't have the guts.
Oh, I have the guts. I don't have a problem with it. And I have a perfect, perfect question, a perfect story. So yeah, I'll
if you don't get 8 and you only get 2, that's 2 more than you had yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Of course.
So you get them down through the 8, and then you say, all right, Julio, good size or very good. If you were me, who would be the first person on this list that you would call? And they'll tell you.
But I think, hang on, because if you tried this on me, I would laugh at you. Literally. Like the moment you start,
surprised.
The moment you start making me draw a circle, I'll be like, what? Either there's some money in the middle of that circle, or what am I doing this?
People will do what you ask them to do if you set it up correctly.
But I would say, like, look, I think a mid version, what Mario's mentioning, is something that I would definitely be more comfortable with. So, like, you know, just setting it out like, hey, like, have you ever met a famous person which is also a pattern interrupt, right? It's like, if you met a famous person, like, how weird would it be if I asked them for a referral? But really fucking weird. It's like, right, well, if I ask you, it's not that bad, is it? You know, it's like something like, and then you can go for like, oh, yeah, I can't think of anyone. Like, what about that long lost brother that you didn't even know you had? You know, and then you make a joke out of it, right? And I'll be like, come on, I don't have anyone like that. I was like, I mean, jokes aside, usually the best.
I told you this approach is very, very American. So what? Julio,
I'm just translating it. I'm translating it.
Yeah. This is very mild European. Soften it up, setting it nice and easy so that they're not uncomfortable.
Yeah, you've got to make it your own. It could even be something like, I've looked at your LinkedIn profile. Okay. Who do you think I think would be a top person to meet with? Now, I'm going to ask you pleasantly, do you really know them? Like, have you ever had a real conversation with them, or are they just another random connection? Okay. So here's what I want you to know. Now we'll do the math. So we've gone through the setup. You've got your referrals. Now, let me take one step back. Now, let's say you've closed business with them and you're not gutsy enough and you don't have the cojones or the corazon to really go this route.
You can say balls. It's okay.
The ink is not dry on the contract yet.
Okay.
And you want to say something to the effect of, gosh, Julio, I'm so excited to take this journey with you and your company. Now, I'd like to ask you for some referrals. And they go, oh, God, I don't know anybody. And you say, all I want today, because we haven't proven we're incredible yet. We haven't proven anything yet. So all I want to ask you today, Julio, is for a couple first names and the industries they work in. Then 30, 60, 90 days from now, when you're like our biggest fan and you're like, how the hell did you know? How did you live without Total Tech? We can revisit this conversation. Right? So you put it on your calendar 90 days from now, when you've proven like the great metrics that they've told you that you have to meet and all that good stuff, you bring up the conversation, right? Sometimes they'll bring it up for you. Now, what we've done is you said, you're going to ask for referrals, the defense gates fly open.
And then you take them back. Yeah.
I just want first names and the industries that they work in. We'll get to the rest later on down the line when we've proven ourselves. Now imagine how many people have ever asked for a referral that way?
I would say next to none.
Next to none.
Next to none.
And it makes them feel good.
Mhm.
Because for once, you're not like that financial advisor who just throws the sheet at you and is like names, phone numbers, emails, birth dates of children, blood type.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Give me the credit card details.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
away.
yeah.
Social security number. And,
Yeah. So you've got the 8 referral way, and then you've got maybe a softer way
Mhm.
to ask for
Yeah.
referrals. First names, industries only. Because then you
Mhm.
can't even like find them. Like, good luck. You know?
Yeah.
So
That's okay.
let's-
Okay.
let's get to the math of sales, right?
Yeah.
So if you're getting 8 solid referrals from each meeting that you set, okay? Now let's talk about your closing rates, right? What's your percentage of those closing rates that you typically close sales? Now it's a warm lead that you've been given, so that increases your closing percentage already.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, if you multiply that by your average commission, it's a scary number. If you set 10 meetings a month,
Yeah, Gavin, keep in mind commissions are not that high in Europe. Yeah, it's all
Okay.
capped. It's all capped bullshit here.
well, let's
Mostly.
do this. You set 10 meetings a month.
Yeah. Gavin actually took out a piece of pen and paper.
I did.
For everyone,
Can you
for
draw?
everyone still sticking with us, Gavin just took out a pen and paper. So
Gavin, can I ask you
Boom.
to draw a circle?
Yeah. For sure. So let's say you set 10 meetings a month, your closing ratio is 30%, right? So you close 3 deals a month. And let's think like, we'll just throw something easy, right? Maybe those 3 deals for each one, the average contract value is $1,000. Now we're not going to go into like what your commission is and all that stuff off, right? So it's $3,000 a month. Now, if you're getting 8 referrals from every meeting, let's do the math. That's 80 meetings that you're going to set. Okay. Because those people will more than likely sit with you for a meeting. 30% of 80 is
200 and 200, not 24.
24.
Sorry,
24.
240. I was thinking.
yeah. And remember, our average ACV is 1,000.
24K.
24K. Now, let's just throw this out there. Let's multiply that by 12 for 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
That's $288,000 versus
That's a very profitable circle.
Versus that's $252,000 that you've put in your pocket.
Yeah.
From just asking for referrals 2 different ways.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now you got to be good.
I'm sorry, Gavin. I don't believe you can get 8 referrals each call. I think on average, if you're good, you're probably gonna get 1.5.
I would be happy with half that.
How many did you get last month?
Referrals? Probably 2.
Okay.
And I ask,
So if you're averaging 2
I ask
referrals,
every single call as well. But I
Okay.
ask in a very, as we discussed, very simple way. Like, plus I ask on cold calls as well, not just on discovery calls.
well, you should. You should. I mean, you agree not to do business. Hey, no problem. Who do you know that like probably would deserve a call from me? Maybe, you know, like they're less fortunate, or maybe it's the college bully. I don't know. But reality is whether you use these very tried and true methods, like the 8 referrals has been taught since like, I don't know. We'll say probably 1973.
Wow.
It's not something I
Really?
created.
Wow.
not something I created.
But I will try this. I will try this. I'm
Well,
curious.
let's then get full circle, right? Since
Yeah.
we are kind of closing it up. Why do salespeople then don't do this more often, apart from the reasons that we discussed early in this podcast? If this was around since the 70s.
I think it's pretty simple to say that just like a lot of things, they don't ask.
No, but I'm actually with Gavin on this because look, the upfront contract has been around for so long, and there's so many psychological. Like, also one thing why I would agree with Gavin is that anything that's psychologically uncomfortable, we just don't fucking do. It doesn't matter. You know, we know the dietary principles to stay thin and healthy for 9,000 years. Right, we kind of figured it out back in the caves. If we eat too much nuts, eventually we get. Well, actually, they never got fat, to be fair. But point being is like it's not because something is known that people do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't make the money we do.
One of my other dead mentors, a guy named Jim Rohn, he's got a great saying, and I teach it to my children all the time. Right, what's easy to do is also easy not to do.
Yep. Yeah. Very true. Very true.
Yeah. And the reality is, you know, we could dive into like this, a rabbit hole of like, what kind of professional development do people really get? What kind of sales training do they really get?
Oh,
right.
That's as we say in Germany, Scheiße.
Yeah. Scheiße. Because most people, number one, sales is the only profession in the world that most people are just given a briefcase or, you know, Zoom and in a phone, and you are one, right? And it's insane to think like, you know, sales, true top professional salespeople are like athletes. Yeah. And if you look at professional athletes, how many trainers do they have? How many coaches do they have? You know, like. It's unreal, and yet people won't invest in themselves.
Most salespeople just stumble into sales, or I don't have anything else, so I will go into sales.
Well, we you know, it's interesting. Like my very quick story was I was in the mental health field. Okay, family move happened. I couldn't do my job because I worked for the government at the time. I couldn't like laterally move into the same position, and I found myself going like, well, I've got 2 bachelor's degrees in psychology and social work. I don't have a master's or a PhD, so I really can't get back to my equivalent job money-wise. What do I do? And I was talking to some mentors, and they said, have you ever thought about sales? And I'm like, smarmy people sitting on a power line trying to swoop down and steal my wallet? No way. And they go, well, tell me about the counseling process. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, a patient comes to see me and I ask them some questions and they give me some answers. And I ask them a couple more questions. And then they finally tell me like what's really going on. Because what they originally told me
sounds familiar.
wasn't reality. And finally, I'm like, okay, well, we have some options, you know, if you want to go for them. You know, we can do some pharmaceutical medication, short-term, long-term. You can come to me for more one-on-one. We can do group therapy. And then I follow up, right? And then I chase them to make sure that they do the things that they're supposed to do. And they go, interesting. Let me share with you what a typical sales process looks like. You sit in front of a prospect. You tell them what you do, they answer some questions and you do some discovery, and then like you find out what the real problem is, and then you make suggestions about how you may or may not help them, and then inevitably there's follow-up. And they go, you've been in sales the whole time, you just never called it. And that's where the light went on, and I'm like, oh shit, well, maybe I can do this.
Maybe I can.
Yeah. All righty. Cool. Well, thanks so much for being here. At the end of the podcast, we usually do kind of a like final thoughts, and every guest we will give you like 30 seconds to do a little bit of promo of whatever you are working on, whatever you're passionate about. So, Julio, maybe final thoughts.
I mean, for me, that what was extremely interesting is generally to rethink the approach to referrals, because I think we are very stuck into very simple ways, and like, I'm just going to ask, and it's a little bit like making cold calls, right? There's better ways of doing just about anything in sales. So I think being open-minded and ballsy about how you go about it is definitely a good way to think about it.
For me, it's the key here is, yes, you gotta try it, you gotta incorporate it in your, let's say, sales daily routine. But for me, it was more just make it your own. Make it your own. You have to be comfortable with whatever structure / model / the words you're saying, and I think you'll be okay. Gavin, final thoughts?
I would just say, remember the preoccupation breaker. If there's one thing you take away from here, you need to tell a story. You need to get them out of thinking like, oh my gosh, they're going to ask me for referrals. Take them away and get them into a different frame of mind. And you'll win more than you lose.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Anything to promo? Maybe at the end of the podcast?
I mean, I'm always open to a conversation. I definitely love to engage with people, and like I do some sales coaching and executive coaching on the side. So if you found my referral magic interesting and you'd really like to dive deeper, and you want to see how much money you left on the table in the last quarter, feel free to find me on LinkedIn.
And you should definitely follow Gavin. If not, he posts phenomenal content on LinkedIn. I love engaging on his posts. So we will post his LinkedIn page in the description of the video.
And here's my challenge, Julio and Mario. Let's find out what happens when you go a different route looking for referrals.
I will hold you to
it. I'm going to.
I will try it. I will try
it immediately. Yeah.
I will try it.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, take care.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.